President Trump.
Let's go.
Good to see you. You ready?
How are you? I'm ready.
I'm doing well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, he tells me we're ready. So let's talk about Milwaukee. Democrats have pounced on what's been reported that you said about the city. They even put up billboards with what you allegedly said. So let me get right to it and ask you directly. Did you say Milwaukee is a horrible city?
No, I didn't say it. They're liars. You know they're liars. They lie about everything. They've got the worst policy in the world. They lie about every single thing they do. I chose Milwaukee. I do say, and I say it all the time, I said it to you and I said it to anybody that wants to listen, crime is way too high, as it is in many cities, and they got to watch the election, because the election results last time in Milwaukee were terrible. I mean, it was just terrible what happened. But other than that, I like Milwaukee. I'm the one that picked Milwaukee, and they are just such liars, such horrible people. And we have to turn it. Look, Joe Biden's the worst president in the history of our country. There's never been anybody like him, not even close. And we have to win this election.
So let me ask you about crime, because crime is an issue in cities all across America. But when you look at
Democrat-run cities,
you think it's just Democrats? I mean, it happens everywhere.
Yeah, the top 25 cities are Democrat, and they're run by Democrats, and there's crime. You take a look at other cities, there's not so much crime, and there's virtually no crime run by Republicans. Big difference.
So Milwaukee has seen a decline over the last year, but my question to you is how will you then work with big city mayors, Democrats like Cavalier Johnson, to address issues of concerns? He says there's just too many guns in the hands of the wrong people.
Well, there's too many guns in certain hands, and certainly I would agree with that 100%, and you can do various things about that, and you're going to have to do it, because in some cities you have the wrong people having guns. You don't have the right people, you have the wrong people. We have to work with the Democrat mayors. They are. I mean, you take a look at the big troubled cities are run by Democrats, and we chose this one because we still have confidence in the mayor, and the mayor really wanted it, but so did other cities. We picked Milwaukee because I wanted Milwaukee. I actually was the one that wanted it, and then they come out with the fabrications, which is all they're really good at coming out with. I will say this: we're going to work with the mayors of the cities, and in some cases governors of states, and we're going to solve the city problem. We have to get much tougher on crime.
Anything specific?
Oh, but just basic great police work. You have to give the authority and the control back to the police. It's been totally taken away. When I was president, I brought out the National Guard because in Minnesota, Minneapolis was burning down. It was burning down. I've never seen anything like it. And the governor's supposed to go. He just didn't want to call. I got him, and we saved that city. We literally saved that city. The police weren't allowed to do their job. You remember they took over a police precinct. I mean, you can't even believe this stuff. So we're going to give the police back the honor of doing what they want to do. They want to make sure that it doesn't happen. If a policeman does his job, oftentimes they lose their pension, they lose their family, they lose their house, they lose everything. They go after them. And we can't have that. One of the things I want to do is immunity for police, where we grant them immunity. We give them protection from what happens to them. That's why you see in cities where stores are being robbed and the police are standing outside watching as they walk out with televisions and every other thing. We have to give the authority back to the police. We have to have safe cities. The ones that are most affected are African Americans, Hispanic Americans. Inner cities are the ones that are, you look at Chicago, it's unbelievable what's happened to the African American in Chicago. They're losing 2, 3, 4 people a day. And they've had weekends where 25 people were shot. And that's like a war zone, and we have to stop it.
So let me ask you about the convention is in Milwaukee in 4 weeks. This would be day 2 of the convention. There's a report out of Chicago that says you may be overnighting in Chicago instead of Milwaukee. Is that the plan?
Well, they have probably, they think, because they have a hotel there, have a beautiful hotel there, beauty, as good as it gets. But I'm staying here. I was always planning on staying here. It's an hour and a half, maybe sometimes 2 hours. And again, I chose Milwaukee for a reason. I chose Milwaukee. And they, just so you understand, when the Democrats were here, they didn't even hold it. And Biden never came. I think he stood out in the parking lot for about a minute and then he left.
During the pandemic?
During the pandemic, yeah. And they did not do your city justice, I can tell you that.
Let me ask you about something President Biden is saying today. He is talking about a new process for citizen spouses and children to obtain permanent residence in the country, estimated to impact about 500,000 non-citizens. Do you support any protections for that specific group living under the threat of deportation?
Well, it's not going to be that group. It's going to be that group perhaps, but it's going to be many others. It's going to be a lot of the people that have poured in from prisons and from, if you take a look, from mental institutions. They're being emptied out all over the world. It's going to be much more than that. They're not stopping there. The only reason they're allowing all of these people into this country is for the vote. And, you know, for a while people weren't sure, why would somebody do it? They're allowing them in. They want to try and sign them up to vote. They're doing it now. It's an illegal process. We're going to stop it in court. If the courts don't stop that, then the courts should be ashamed of themselves. But they're trying to get votes, and this is all about votes because they're way behind in the election. Biden's way behind in the election. We just had a great poll coming out of actually Wisconsin. We're doing very well in Wisconsin, as we have in the past. And frankly, they're doing that just for the purposes of the election.
So no, you wouldn't support that effort, but what about permanently ending DACA? Would that be a priority in your...
Look at DACA, and I've looked at DACA for a long time. We dealt a lot with DACA. It's a complex issue, but there are some people that deserve to be here, but there are a lot of people that don't. When people pour into the country from prisons, they're murderers, they're drug dealers, and they're gang members, and we want to make them citizens. I'm not in favor of that.
And just go back to the non-citizens who spouse, you know, they're married to a U.S. citizen. There's not a window for them?
We have to look at individual cases, but they're not looking at that. They're using that as an excuse to sign up people from all over the world that shouldn't be here. It's just an excuse.
One more question for you. You're doing better in the polls when it comes to the African American vote, but it's still an uphill climb for you. And I want to ask you something specifically. For voters, black voters who might be skeptical, don't know if you will fight for them when they see inequities, disparities in housing or the economy or on the job, what would you say to them that you would be a president for them in those situations?
Well, I'm doing really well, better than any Republican's done in 100 years, actually. And I think that when they look at criminal justice reform that I got, that nobody else got, I got it, and without me they couldn't have had it. And other presidents tried, including Obama, but they just couldn't get it. Obama tried with Biden and they couldn't get it done, and a lot of people tried. I got it done. Criminal justice reform, opportunity zones. I got opportunities zones done with Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina, great guy. And he had this idea, and we put it into practice, and it's been one of the most successful economic development programs ever. We did the historically black colleges and universities and colleges, and we were able to get that funded, which for years they never had any funding. They'd have to come on a year-by-year basis. We got long-term funding, more money than they needed, more money than they asked for. We gave it to them because we felt they needed it. I got very familiar with the heads of those colleges and universities. I say, why do you come back every year? They felt, and one of them looked at me and said, we feel like beggars. We come back to Washington every year to come, for money. And I got them long-term financing. I got that taken care of. And I think when the black people and Hispanic people too, the jobs, they look at their job numbers, they look at all of the things that we did. Nobody has done, and I say this, nobody has done more for the black person, for the black people, than anybody, than me, since Abraham Lincoln. That's a big statement, okay? Abraham Lincoln, that's a long time ago, but there's been no president that's done for the black people what I've done since Abraham Lincoln.
I appreciate your time. Appreciate the opportunity to
Thank
ask
you very
questions
much.
to you. So, thank you for your time,
See you
sir.
soon.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay, see you.
Yeah.